Let's talk about savings. You have a couple of characters you brought up, Grant Cardone and Dave Ramsey, and both serve very different kinds of people. But I think what we can imagine is that if you are listening to Grant Cardone or you're listening to Dave Ramsey, you're a little lost, a little confused, a little bit undereducated, and just don't have the experience needed to manage your own finances at this point. That's why you're out there looking for these things. Grant Cardone is pitching investments that very much benefit him. And the way that he does it, it's a particular type of marketing and a particular type of sales strategy that does not appeal to me personally. And then you have Dave Ramsey, on the other hand, who's really trying to teach people the very basic building blocks of their personal finances. And he's, in a lot of ways, right, he's talking down to people and trying to tell them to do things that are so basic that these are things they should have learned from mom and dad, learned in school, unfortunately, are common sense. And so teaching people who don't have common sense is probably a very lucrative career, but doesn't really benefit anyone in the long run. And so the advice you get from these folks is unique to them. I would advise people, and I think we talked about this before you listen to a talking head online about a particular kind of investment and what to do with your savings, you ask the people around you that you know and you trust. For some reason, we have this belief that watching someone on television gives them all of this credibility, but I don't think there's anything that is more dangerous, because I don't think that you as a viewer can tell the difference between Grant Cardone and someone like Alex Mashinsky, who ran Celsius, a large crypto fund. They look and sound about as credible, but one of them is in prison. And so again, I preach that the best place to get investment advice is not from talking heads online. It is not from books. It is from the folks around you. And if you don't have folks around you, it's in your community, right? The folks that are successful and that you know are not trying to sell you something. Because as soon as the person that you believe has credibility tells you to invest in something that they have a vested interest in, they've lost all credibility, right? So you need to find mentors that are interested in educating you about what they're doing and how they're doing it, not selling you things. Even with Dave Ramsey, who I think does a service, again, trying to teach people who don't have common sense, what you find is that, again, he's also all about monetization. He's there in the end to pitch you a realtor, pitch you an investment manager, pitch you someone to sell you advice. You're the product in the end. But I do have some respect for how he goes about educating the audience. And I think there's some value in there, even if I don't think it's a good idea to pay your house off as quickly as you can. I don't think some of us need to be as financially austere or conservative as Mr. Ramsey wants us to be. Probably not realistic. Overall, he gives pretty good advice. So a 24-year-old is asking a question. I make decent money, but I don't have any savings. I want to learn how to manage my finances at this point. I'm working my ass off, but I don't have any savings. I'm very new to this. Any advice to invest or save up will help me out. I've heard about mutual funds, gold, bonds, fixed deposit, and stocks. Which and what should I go for? I don't have in-depth knowledge in any of them. So that's a good kind of beginner starter question. It gives us a lot of insight too into this particular person's background. Right, so we have a good idea that this is someone who did not have a lot of financial education growing up, whether it be from their parents, from school, or even from places like television or social media. So we're really starting from scratch. And sometimes that's a very dangerous place to start, because especially at 24 years old, the idea is that I am going to watch something or read something, and that will teach me enough to start to manage my own money. Conventional wisdom is that, oh yeah, let's give some advice on what books to read. And I would say that's just complete nonsense. A 24-year-old hopefully has a job, and they should be focusing on those skills, on building their business or doing well at work, not on personal finance. So step one is whatever your company is doing for you, whether that's a 401k, if they don't have a 401k with a match, then you can start an IRA at a large brokerage house like Charles Schwab that I use, for example. But the first step is to max out any tax-deferred retirement vehicles that you have at work, and not to spend your time watching YouTube videos on what to do with your money that you currently don't have a lot of. Step 2, after you've maxed out your retirement accounts through work or created an IRA. Now, if you don't know what to do inside of that IRA or don't know how to select the funds in your 401k, the best thing to do is to find people around you that do know what they're doing. So seek out people who've worked in the financial industry, seek out people who have a hobby of personal finance, and spend a lunch, spend a dinner, spend some time with them asking them questions. And I think that that'll be a better school for you than spending time reading books. Because the problem with reading books, and this is the same problem with watching YouTube videos, is that you do not have context. And you do not know what to apply, what not to apply, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, and when does it make sense to do those things. So it can be a very, very dangerous thing. And for some of us who have, maybe addictive personalities, this can lead to gambling and all sorts of negative behaviors. Social media in general are littered with terrible advice and people who tell you that this is not financial advice. And the way you know they're about to give financial advice is when they're saying this is not financial advice, because they're really guiding you towards some investment, oftentimes something that's truly terrible for you, and they're about to talk about it, and that's when they say this is not financial advice. You don't know who they are or what value they present, so you go and emulate it, right? You go and do what they said to do, but you don't know how much to buy. You don't know when to buy. You don't know when to sell. So the first step starts with some sort of education from the people around you. And if you don't have people around you, kind of like a rich dad, a rich uncle, somebody at work who's, I would say, 10 to 15 years older, so at least someone who's in their 40s, I'd say those are the types of people you want to spend time with. So there is no necessarily specific advice for a 24-year-old, aside from starting to build an investing network and getting some coaching and some mentorship from the people around you before you watch videos or read books.